In a peaceful village surrounded by lush green fields and a flowing river, there lived a boy named Ravi. He was the only child of humble farmers, Ram and Sita, who worked tirelessly to make ends meet. Their days were spent under the golden sun, plowing fields and tending to crops, hoping for a good harvest that would sustain them through the year. Unlike the other children in the village, who spent their days playing and laughing, Ravi was different. He preferred solitude. While others ran through the fields, climbed trees, or engaged in lively chatter, Ravi would sit quietly, observing the world around him. He watched the way the wind moved through the crops, listened to the birds chirping in the trees, and paid close attention to the stories shared by the village elders in the evenings. His silence made people curious. "Why is this boy so quiet?" the villagers whispered. Some even thought something was wrong with him. "A child should be playful and talkative," they said. But Ravi's father, Ram, believed otherwise. One evening, as they sat under the shade of an ancient banyan tree, Ram gently asked, "Ravi, my child, why don't you talk much?" Ravi smiled and replied, "Father, listening is more important than speaking. When we listen, we learn. When we speak, we only repeat what we already know." Ram looked at his son, impressed by his wisdom at such a young age. "That is true, my son," he said, "but sometimes silence is misunderstood. People may think you are weak or afraid to speak." Ravi thought for a moment and then replied, "True strength does not lie in words, Father, but in understanding. I will speak when it is necessary." Ram nodded, realizing that his son was wise beyond his years. In the same village, there was a man named Michael. He loved to talk. He had an opinion about everything and made sure everyone around him heard it. Whether it was village matters, politics, or farming techniques, Michael always spoke as if he knew everything. One day, he saw Ravi sitting quietly under a tree, observing the sky. He laughed and said, "Ravi, you are always so silent. If you don't speak up, no one will ever notice you. Life rewards those who are loud and bold." But Ravi simply smiled and continued his quiet contemplation. Michael, however, was not satisfied. He started teasing Ravi every chance he got. "Look, the silent boy is here. Maybe he's afraid to speak." Others laughed, but Ravi remained unfazed. He understood that reacting to every word was unnecessary. One day, a heated argument broke out between two farmers in the village. They both claimed ownership of a piece of land. Their voices grew louder as they hurled accusations at each other. The villagers gathered, trying to intervene, but no one could calm them down. Then, to everyone's surprise, Ravi stepped forward. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply said, "If you both agree, I can suggest a solution." The crowd fell silent. One of the farmers scoffed, "What can this quiet boy possibly say?" But the other, curious, nodded. "Let's hear him out." Ravi spoke in a calm, steady voice. "If you continue to fight, neither of you will benefit. But if you divide the land wisely and work together, both of you can prosper." He then proposed a fair solution that allowed them to share the land efficiently. The farmers listened carefully. Slowly, their anger faded. After thinking for a moment, they agreed to Ravi's suggestion. The villagers were amazed. The boy who never spoke had resolved a dispute that even the elders couldn't settle. People began to see his silence in a new light. "He speaks only when necessary," they whispered, "and when he does, his words carry wisdom." A few days later, a wealthy businessman named Mr. Robert visited the village. He was looking for someone intelligent to help him manage his expanding business. "I need a partner who is wise and thoughtful," he announced. Excited, many villagers, including Michael, rushed to meet him. Michael was the first to speak. "Sir, I am the best choice," he declared confidently. "I know everything about business, and I can talk my way through any situation." He spoke at length about his skills, trying hard to impress Mr. Robert. Then it was Ravi's turn. Mr. Robert asked, "If you face a difficult situation in business, what will you do?" Ravi paused for a moment, thinking carefully. Then he replied, "First, I will observe and understand the situation fully. Only after deep thought will I decide the best course of action." Mr. Roberts smiled. He didn't say much, but he had already made his decision. A few days later, he gathered the villagers and made an announcement. "I have chosen my business partner. I need someone who thinks before he speaks, who listens before he acts. That person is Ravi." The villagers were shocked. Michael, who had always laughed at Ravi's silence, was speechless. But deep inside, he understood why Ravi had been chosen. Ravi moved to the city and worked under Mr. Roberts' guidance. He learned the art of business, decision-making, and leadership. With time, he became highly successful. But despite his achievements, he never forgot his village. Years later, he returned, not as a silent boy, but as a respected leader who had helped his community grow. He funded schools, built hospitals, and provided jobs for the villagers. Sitting once again under the banyan tree, surrounded by people eager to hear his wisdom, Ravi smiled and said, "True strength does not lie in how much you speak, but in how well you understand. Silence is not emptiness. It is the space where wisdom grows." Even Michael, humbled, approached him. "I was wrong," he admitted. "Your silence taught me that wisdom is more valuable than endless words." Ravi placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "It's never too late to learn. The power of silence is available to all who seek it." My dear friends, Ravi's story teaches us an important lesson. Silence is not a weakness, it is a strength. When we listen deeply, think carefully, and speak thoughtfully, we make better decisions and earn respect. Let us embrace the power of silence and use it to build a life of wisdom, success, and kindness. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs this lesson today. Together, let's make the world a better place, one thoughtful action at a time.